Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers of love, and welcome to yet another journey through what we call the lovosphere. All right. Oh, that's a terrible one. All right. And in this episode of Late Night Love, we dive deep into the complexities of relationships, parenting, and work and life dilemmas. From a boyfriend learning ASL, American Sign Language, for his partner's brother, to dealing with nitpicky roommates, we tackle some of the most pressing questions and concerns our listeners face daily. We'll explore how to communicate fairness in household duties, rebuild trust after a breakup, and navigate challenging parenting situations, and much more. So tune in for our heartfelt advice, relatable stories, and practical tips to help navigate your life's ups and downs here on Late Night Love on KUBU 96.5 FM. Hey, remember to put that in there.
Yay!
Yeah. And remember, you can find us at latenightLove.us. And if you want to send us your questions, comments, suggestions, blah, 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 you can send them to love@latenightLove.us. And please don't forget to do the like, subscribe, share thing on whatever platform you happen to be listening to us on. So it's been a long day for me, Lubby. I started the day with...
I know you did.
I mean, it wasn't just my normal Saturday work where I just get to go and babysit an office while people do their own things, right? Essentially, that's normally what I do when I have to work on Saturdays. I actually gave a workshop today, and it was the first time I've given a workshop. It's actually the same stuff I teach people on one-on-one, but teaching it to a small group instead of a... And you know, the interesting thing is the difference between the two is that when I teach someone one-on-one, I can skip huge parts of the thing because I meet them where they are. And so if they're doing whatever type of genre they're working on, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a music type show or some combination thereof, I get to skip essentially the part that they're not interested in. They don't want to know it, and so I don't have to teach it. And so, you know, this time I'm trying to teach people generically how to be generic producers of all types of shows, not just theirs. Maybe they're helping someone else, and they're kind of the staff, the behind the scenes person, the person who you don't see, the person we don't have, you know.
The person we don't have.
Yeah, the
right,
person we don't have. You know, because not everybody, well, we do, right? We are co-producers. I do the technical stuff. You do show research. You know, we technically cover most of the duties of a show producer.
Yes, we do.
We just do it differently, which is fine. It's just, you know, we didn't design this as, you know, we go way back 4 years ago. We didn't design this as a real podcast type thing. Remember where we started it, I was running for office and I needed something to keep me firmly planted in reality. Because when you're into politics, you know, you can lose reality. So the goal of Late Night Love was, okay, what do we want to do that's for us, but that's also keeps me firmly rooted in reality. So that's where Late Night Love came from.
I remember well.
So that's why we are here, for those of you who might be joining us. That's the reason we exist, because I didn't want to lose myself into politics. I'd seen too many people I'd respected kind of get into the politics thing and lose themselves. I was not going to let that happen to me. So that's what that from. So how was your Saturday?
My Saturday was, I kept myself busy. I did a drawing for one of my grandchildren. And let's see, I did Saturday, you know, pedicure,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kind of thing. Did a long walk today because I'm not going to walk until Monday. Really, I'll walk for maybe half an hour on tomorrow, but that's it.
Yeah, you go to church and back type of thing.
Well, I'll take the long way home. I take the long way home from church now, and it adds like half an hour.
We'll get your walk in at the same time you get to
I get to see a different part of the neighborhood I don't usually see.
It's your Sunday. It's your Sunday routine.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
my Sunday route.
All right. So let's get on to start. We're going to kind of move to the middle for a second, cover one life question. Just one of these things, sometimes people don't have the proverbial father to tell them why things are done the way they are. So that's the reason this question kind of exists. All right. So here's our question.
Okay, is it better to inflate the tires a little more than recommended? Will it make the tires last longer? Okay, why was I told this? I've heard this too. Will it also make your tires more prone to blow up if they're older than recommended?
Okay, here's the thing you got to understand about tires. Tires have a wide range of recommended pressures depending upon the car. Your recommended pressure has more to do with what the car needs more than the tire needs. The tire can survive perfectly fine at 20 pounds per square inch, up to 50, even 60. They're designed to handle a wide range because the manufacturer doesn't know exactly what car it's going to go on. And some cars, the average car generally, you're talking about a sedan, a four-door sedan, little cars like ours, they're somewhere between 32 and 34 pounds per square inch. You get an SUV, they're different. You can have, sometimes they can be vastly different. You might have 28 pounds per square inch in the back and 35 in the front. So your tires are part of the suspension. And so that recommended pressure is where your car handles the best, and while also giving you the most comfortable ride. So there's tricks. Like when we had a Suzuki, remember the Suzuki we used to have? The Grand Vitara?
Yes.
I could change how the car rides by simply adjusting the air pressure in the car.
You could really?
Yes, if I overpressured the car would get better gas mileage, get 2-3 miles per gallon better, but you're bouncing down the road essentially. And this has only happened within a 2 or 3 pound thing. You drop it 2 or 3 pounds below the recommended you could get a smoother ride, but you decreased your gas mileage. And so for that car, you're paying attention. Okay, what do I need? Do I want better gas mileage, or do I want a more comfortable ride? So the reason you choose these pressures is just follow the pressure recommended for your car. Stay within 1 or 2 of that, and you will be fine.
Okay, now I heard that during the summer, the air gets hot and it expands in the tires.
Yes, but it also happens when you drive. So this is why you do air pressure cold. They say cold. Cold doesn't mean a cold day. It just means you haven't been driving it all day.
Okay.
So
I never heard that before.
Yeah.
So you should put air pressure in
you
the
check
tire.
Yeah, before you've driven a long time.
Before you've driven it. Oh.
Not necessarily driven it, because it might be a 30-day degree outside. And so you drive it to the gas station, you kind of warm everything up to normal temperatures, then you take the pressure.
Okay.
But again, it doesn't matter that much. The difference isn't going to be huge. You're not talking about huge pressures. Yes, okay, if you're dealing with some specialty tire who runs at a really high pressure, it might make a difference. But for your average car, average sedan, all of these things are well within tolerances.
Okay.
Don't run them low, right? If your car says, 28, you don't want to run it at 25 because that will start to wear out your tire faster. Low is worse. It's for your sidewalls. Your sidewalls will break down. So, but just stick within. There's a reason those recommended pressures are there. Stick within those. Stick within a couple pounds per square inch of your recommended thing on the door, and you will be fine. You're not going to notice the difference.
Cool.
Get outside of that. You know what you're doing. There are reasons and times to do it. Like if you're a rock crawler off four-wheeling, they will drop their air pressures all the time. They run really, really low, so they have better grip on rocks, mud, and get a bigger footprint. But you're just driving to the to work and back and to the mall and to the grocery store. Stick within your tolerances, man. Don't worry. You stick within your tolerances. That's the best life for your car, for your suspension, and for your tires. So just don't play games. Let the engineers who have done their work. Tires are not something new. These are They're well understood. Stick with it. All right.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to relationships.
Okay, relationships. Okay, the guy that I am dating is learning American Sign Language for my brother, but my friends think it's creepy. How do I proceed with this?
Oh, what kind of friends would think it
I
would be
know
creepy?
why. I think that's one of the sweetest things I've ever heard.
I don't even necessarily think it's sweet. I think he's probably someone who simply likes to learn things and learn languages, and now he's got an opportunity a reason to learn American Sign Language, so he's just going to go in and learn American Sign Language. It wouldn't matter if your brother spoke Romanian. He was going to try to learn Romanian. And it had nothing to do with you or your brother. It's just, this is one of those people who, when he has an opportunity to learn something, he's going to learn it just because he wants to. Should have no bearing on the rest of your relationship unless you have other signs of issues, which you didn't speak of any. It's not her that's finding it creepy. It's her friends. And because she's, 21, she's a 20, her friends are all, it's not high school anymore. You found someone who likes to learn. That's likely what that means.
And that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. This is
That's
not
all there is to it.
this is not a romantic comedy where everybody's
I
got
know.
there's some other agenda.
But I think it's sweet.
It might very well be some sweetness into it, but my guess is, as a man, oh, this is a cool opportunity for me to learn American Sign Language. This is just a thing. Now, there's the guy, my suggestion to the guy, take the win. Right? She thinks it's sweet. Let her believe it. That's my suggestion for him. There's no need to correct her. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, just keep doing your thing. You'll be all right. Stop listening to your friends because they're leading you down. I get 20-year-old women. They've read too many romance novels, seen too many movies, and everybody's got some hidden agenda. I kind of get it, but time to grow up. Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend wants me to do the housewife duties when we both work full time. How do I explain why this isn't fair?
Oh, hey, forget about fair. Fairness is for children. Life isn't fair. It's got nothing to do with fairness. You're just not going to do it. It has nothing to do with fairness. We have household responsibilities. Everybody needs to do their share of
Okay, let me put it a different way.
Mhm.
Why is it okay for her to do his share of the housework?
Well, okay, whose share of the housework do I do?
You go to work.
Well, we all have. No, that's not
And
true.
hey, I don't work.
No, but I also do the deep cleaning. I'm the one who has to clean the dishwasher, and
That's true.
So there are issues, right? And maybe
You
she's
do
thinking
your own cooking.
I do my own cook. Well, that's got nothing to do with.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, no, that's just because I have weird taste put down, and I'd be pointless for anybody to
But-
try to cook for me.
But-
I wouldn't. I
but
wouldn't.
that is-
I wouldn't subject people having to cook for me. That's cruel and unusual punishment.
But it is factored in to the things that I would do around here.
Well, here's the thing. It's life doesn't change just because you're married, just because you're moving in together.
Yeah.
And so they remember, their boyfriend and girlfriend, and so this is one of these things where you've got to decide. Someone wants a more traditional relationship than another person does. Those are often relationship enders. There's nothing wrong with wanting a more traditional relationship, right? And there's nothing wrong with it as long as both people are on the same page. So the issue here is, are you actually on the same page in your relationship? This is a bigger question than just what's fair in house duties or not. This is do you have are you on the same page for your future? She doesn't want to be a traditional person. He wants a more traditional life. That's a conflict that needs to be resolved before you move forward. It's not something that's going to resolve itself magically because you have a discussion about fairness. This isn't about fairness. Now, my guess is he has in his vision, he's not just sitting on the couch drinking beer and watching sports. He's doing all the other things outside that compensate for this. He's probably not one of those people who sits still and watches a football game or plays video games. He's probably one of those people who's constantly moving, constantly doing things. You know, if he's working on some project in the garage, and he thinks in his mind he's working on making the house better, the life for everybody better, and so that's doesn't make it correct, doesn't make it incorrect. It means that you guys are on two separate pages, and you guys need to come together and figure out, okay, is this actual relationship? Are we actually going to have a functional thing? Or are we always going to be in conflict? Because what we actually want out of our relationship are two actually different things. One person wants a more modern life. One person wants a more traditional life. Can you make it work? Sure. But having a discussion about fairness isn't going to do it. Having a discussion about what you actually want and why is going to do it. You sit there, I don't think it's fair that I should do this. I don't think it's fair that I should have to go off and take the trash out and clean up when the trees fall down and go mow the lawn all the time and go clean up after the dogs and all the various things that you end up having to do. And then you end up with a discussion where instead of talking about your relationship, you're talking about stuff, making lists and marking things off, keeping scores. And it becomes ugly. It's never going to stop because you're on the wrong page from the beginning. Find out if you actually want the same thing out of your relationship before you decide to be the wifely duties thing or not.
Well, they're in their late 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're both wanting to settle down and create a long-term relationship.
So they should be able to, they should be mature enough to have that conversation.
Well, let's face it. For most of us, that is about when we get mature enough to start having that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, most of us are garbage in our 20s. We just are. We don't know it until our 40s, but we're garbage in our 20s. Hey, there's exceptions to every rule, but so yeah. My thought on this one is that they need to recontemplate their relationship if they actually want the same things, because just from this thing, they want different things out of a relationship, and maybe they can be worked through, but maybe not. This is one of these things that you need to know. Are you a traditionalist or are you a modernist, for lack of a better word? Neither one is right or wrong. There's plenty of modernists and plenty of traditionalists for each other. You just got to go find them. You got hooked up with the wrong one. It happens. Okay. What's next?
My boyfriend just broke up with me because one of his guy friends lied about hooking up with me before. How do I fix this relationship?
You don't?
He doesn't believe you.
It's 23. There's nothing to fix. I understand why your emotion is to want to fix it, but there's nothing to fix. Do you really want to be in a relationship where you have to walk on eggshells because your partner is overreactive to rumor? Haven't you left high school? I mean, I know they're 23, but you've left high school. This kind of thing should be in your past. And if it's not, then you need to move on and find someone who is more mature. I get it. Being alone is unfun, but it's more fun than having to live like that. Okay. And we've got the next one. Same answer to this next one. Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend slapped me out of anger for the first time yesterday. Can we move forward from this? No.
Well,
No.
well, probably not. There is the exception. Did you push someone's buttons until they snapped?
It doesn't matter.
Well, yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying yes, it does. You do not get to push somebody until they snap and then play victim.
No.
Courts have actually decided this.
Sorry.
No,
I don't agree with them.
This is clear because pushing someone to the
I
point
don't
where
think anything is clear.
pushing someone to the point where they snap is just as abusive as someone slapping you.
They have just as much right to walk away as the other person does, and they should have.
Right, both of them should have walked away at this point.
Yes.
Yes. So the answer to this question is no. There is no way to fix this relationship because neither one of you are likely mature enough to be in a relationship to begin with. You can't deliberately push someone's buttons and then claim the victim.
You can never trust him again.
Well, right.
Don't ever trust him again. They'll hit you.
My question is neither one of them are trustworthy. That's my thing. So
It doesn't matter if he was angry or not. He doesn't get to slap her.
You're correct, but you also don't get to play a victim if you're the one who has created the condition.
You don't know that.
This is true, but we don't know it wasn't.
No, I can pretty much bet.
No, I can pretty much bet that this was not that up until that
Doubt
moment.
it.
This was not a single.
Doubt it.
All right. We are going to disagree on that one. Okay. But the end result is the same. No, you can't move forward from this. You move on and you become mature enough where these things don't happen. Okay.
My boyfriend gets constantly upset that I don't cook for him. Okay, they're not living together. His mother cooks for him every day, but he wants her to cook. And she's like, I don't really like cooking.
And you got a lot of these questions. And so you go find a different boyfriend. That's the answer to this one. This one's an easy one. It's not his place. You're not even living. You're not even living together, and he's upset that you're not cooking for him.
You know what it's going to be like married to this dude?
Just even a deeper relationship. This is time to cut bait and go. It just is. There's no, and this you can blame his mother for it because at 23 she's still cooking for him every day, and so that's what his expectation is. But you don't have to deal with it. He's not mature enough to be in a relationship, and so I wouldn't bother. Again, it's being alone sucks, but it doesn't suck as bad as being in that. This would be like an answer like 4 times in a row. Okay, what's next? Oh, is this this one should have been a life question, but okay.
My 45-year-old roommate is extremely nitpicky about cleanliness, and I feel it's over the top insane. I'm 40. How do I explain to her that she needs to chill out? Okay, they're both women, and it's roommate situation.
They're both women, they're roommates, they're both in their 40s. And what you've got here is 2 people who have probably vastly different views of cleanliness. Now, it doesn't mean one person's necessarily a slob. It could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean one. And another one could be, barring an OCD type cleanliness type thing, right? If you're dealing with an OCD thing, there's nothing you can do. So you're talking like the odd couple type deal where one person's just neat and fastidious, not an OCD, necessarily OCD level, except on a handful of things, maybe. All right. Now that I remember the odd couple, he was OCD on a couple of things.
He was.
All right, never mind. And the other guy was an absolute slob, right?
Yes, he was.
And so so hopefully it's not that extreme. You've got some person who's just kind of likes to be neat and tidy and picks up everything, and the other person just cleans up at the end of the day, doesn't worry so much if they have to do the dishes tomorrow. It's fine. I'll get to them tomorrow, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as long as it's that kind of thing, you're both going to have to compromise a little. You just are. That's the only solution to a roommate. You're just going to have to compromise a little. And most of the time that compromises means you're just going to shut up. She's going to be annoyed that you didn't do your dishes, but she's going to leave them alone. You're going to be annoyed that you have to clean up at the end of the day, but you're going to do it more often than not. Right? And what's going to happen is over time, the fact that you are both giving a little will help. If you're expecting her to come to where you are is just as silly as her expecting you to go where she is. It's not. So you've got to find the acceptable thing. And, some people they're nitpicky about certain things. So maybe.
So you go along with the couple,
So you give her on a couple and she gives you on a couple. And next thing you know, okay, what's really important? What's the most important thing about you? Is it the dishes in the sink? If the most important thing is the dishes in the sink, then you clean up after the dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's something else, you do that. And on the things that she's less caring about, you ask her to give on those. So, all right, the things you care about most, I'll work on. But can you work on the things that I care about most? You make that, figure out the things you care about most, start with those, and hopefully those two don't butt heads too tight.
Yeah.
Don't leave your dishes on, don't leave your cups on the coffee table overnight, right? Put them in the sink at least. And you can do that. That's the kind of change you can do. Pick up your potato chips bag or your ice cream bucket after last night's rom-com watch thing. Tired, and so you went to bed instead of putting them in the trash. Remember to put them in the trash. Now you get it. You're going to pick them up and put them in the morning before you go to work anyway. You're going to pick them up, but it irritates her to get up and see that. And so, if that's really the bugaboo, then you fix that part. Okay. What's next?
How do I bring up healthy portion sizes to my husband, who eats all of the food I make, without offending him?
Make less food. You're controlling the portions, and you're asking someone how to have a discussion about portion sizes. This is not a discussion you have to make. Just make him less food. It is ingrained in him, probably from his childhood, to eat everything on his plate, to have no leftovers, to not waste food, because probably in his house, leftovers got wasted. So he eats everything. So make less. You don't have to have a discussion at all. You control you're making the food. Just start, man. Do it slowly, right? Slowly make less. Don't make a big, huge jump at once. Just slowly make less. So over time, he's starting to eat healthier, a more reasonable amount. He's given to you. He surrendered his diet to you. So you use that. He's trusting you with feeding him properly. Feed him properly.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
All right. Maybe you would like some jicama?
No, I cook my own food. Remember, we discussed this at the beginning of the show, that I would not subject anybody to cooking for me because I do not surrender my food choices to somebody else. That is not what happens. I am overly picky. I don't blame anybody for my pickiness but me, but I am overly picky, and I'm like a third grader, so it is what it is. Okay, so we're on to some parenting questions. What do we've got?
I'm considering leaving my husband. How do you talk to the kids?
Well, why would you talk to the kids until you've discussed this with your husband? What's your agenda? Would be my first suggestion, because you haven't made a decision. You haven't discussed this with your husband, but you're going to bring your children into it. Why? Now, maybe it's different if they're adult children, and you're having a discussion with your adult children about it. That would be a little different. But if you're talking, kids you are still raising, actively raising, what's the purpose? Maybe there's a good reason for it. I could think of a couple off the top of my head, but not many. So generically speaking, I would consider why. Would you talk to the kids before you have had that discussion with your husband and your children, and and your other family members, and you don't bring the children into that until it's a thing,
Yes.
because now you're just going to create chaos in your children. There's no need. There's more to think about than your disintegration of your relationship. So, yeah. Think before you talk to your kids, ask yourself why you want to have the discussion with your kids. Are you trying to lay the groundwork so they view you more favorably in the divorce? Or do you just need someone to talk to? Or are you preparing them for something that you've already decided on and haven't followed through on yet? So think for your real hard. Sit with yourself real hard about why you want to talk to your kids about this before you've made decisions. Okay.
Grandma wants baby to call her a weird name, Muma or something like that.
Some home country version of grandma.
Yeah.
It's a home country version of grandma. It's not weird. It's cultural tradition. The baby can make the choice, but I don't have a problem with grandma wanting it. What do you call what do your grandchildren call you?
Mama.
What does that mean in English?
It's not English. It's Danish.
I know, but when you translate it to English, what does that mean?
Mother's mother.
Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah. It means grandma.
Yeah.
So these people would say that's a weird name. That's what I'm saying. It's only a weird name because it's not your culture, but it is hers.
I'm the third generation.
So my
There's
suspicion is that you should embrace your child's cultural heritage and allow it. You don't force it. You don't want to force anything, but you do allow it and stop thinking of it as weird.
Yeah.
That'd be my suggestion.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you more or less tired with your teens versus littler kids?
Well, I had my littler kids when I was in my 20s, so I had all kinds of energy in your 20s. Versus when my kids are teenagers, I'm in my late 30s. Yeah, you have got generally, that's why. It's got nothing to do with, because you're older by the time your kids are. Got nothing to do with the kids. It's you. I get why you want to blame it. I'm so tired with these dang teenagers. Yes, it's because you're old. That's sorry to break it to you. That's why you have kids when you're young, so you're not 60 when they're teenagers and you can't do anything because you're old and broken down. And that's the benefit of having kids young rather than late. I don't understand why anybody would want to have an infant in their like 35.
Well, how about some of these actors? They're 70.
Yeah, but they've got staff that raise their kids. They're not raising their kids. Who are we trying to kid? They got a nanny. What's his name? Those old actors who are out there he's not raising them kids. The wife and his nanny is. We all know it. That's not the same thing. Not like the rest of us out here at 70 years old trying to struggle changing diapers and getting up he ain't doing none of that. So, yeah, all right, what's next?
Kids are driving wife insane. They're 8 and 4, and she's a stay-at-home mom.
Yes. The answer to that question is yes. Now, she's not actually going insane. She just feels like she's going insane. On the plus side, that 4-year-old will soon be in school.
Yes.
And she will have a little bit of respite. But here's the suggestion. Don't overload her schedule. You may have to help her not overload her schedule. And I know you're thinking you're doing all the great things for the kids by taking them to gym, to class and gymnastics and baseball and all the various activities. You've filled up their day. You've also filled up yours, and it's driving your wife crazy. And guess what? Driving your wife crazy is not for good children raised. Oh God, that's not what I meant. There was a phrase from some old book I was trying to kind of recopy to that one, and that one came out wrong. But yeah, it's a crazy wife, a stressed wife does not raise good children. Or does not raise children as well as a wife who is relaxed and present. Or any parent, really, regardless of gender. So my suggestion would be to unburden her schedule. Remove some of those activities that you do for them children. You know, children need to rest and to free play. Unstructured time for themselves is good for them. And encourage her to find something. The local community center and sit with the old people doing knitting. Whatever. You know, whatever it takes. You ever do something, get her out of the house for herself. If you can afford it, pay a babysitter. If not, have her do it when you're at home. So she goes out every Tuesday night to go hang out with the girls and do knitting, right? Whatever it is. Just like on Wednesdays, you go bowling. On Tuesdays, she goes knitting or whatever it is, right? I'm probably being sexist by knitting things, but I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. Book club, right? Or something. There's probably a better
There
one.
we go.
Book club. Have her go to a book club or a mommy's alone meeting or something. If there isn't a mommy's alone meeting around it, start one. Chance for mothers to go gather together and go off and have coffee, play video games, do whatever they need to do for, just like men do. Go off and they go bowling or they go golfing on Saturday or whatever it is. Do that. There's a reason men go off and do that. It helps to release their stress of their weeks. You can do the same. I encourage you to encourage her to go out and create a hobby. If it's a book club.
That is a very good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
Doesn't matter what it is. Something. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. My stepson's at 10 is saying I abused our cat. He is they're having trouble with him lying.
Yeah, well, this one is actually probably more easier explained than others. Children at 10 lie. It's what they do. It's not that itself isn't so worried. He's not happy you are replacing his father, and so he is trying to get you pushed out of the house. That's what that is all about. So what do you do with that? It's not about the cat. He's angry. He wants his stepdad gone. Because he wants his old life back. And at 10, he doesn't understand that it's not going to happen. At 10, he doesn't understand that his old life probably wasn't very enjoyable. But it was his. Now it's not. So the thing is to you and his mother to sit down with him and have that discussion, reflect his real feelings. He doesn't really know what he's really feeling right now. He's acting on instinct. So you go in there and you explain to him, hey, we wonder if this is what you're feeling. And that's how you begin to repair that. And as my suggestion, anybody who's dealing with stepchildren or whatnot, don't fight ghosts. It's not your place to battle their ghosts. But you can support them while they do. However they need. Sometimes it's just sitting there quietly. Sometimes you need to be a little more active. But the ghosts are for them to battle, not for you. Because it's not about you. Okay. What's next?
Second-time parent. Feeling guilty about things with first child.
Have another children, then you won't have another child, then you won't, because by the third time you've forgiven yourself for all this stuff, because you're experienced enough to know that this is really hard, and you make it up as you go along, and you're gonna get stuff wrong. And as long as you're doing the best you could at that any given time, that's the best you can do. You couldn't do better than you could do. Now you can look back and say, if I'd been smarter, I would have done X, Y, and Z. And yeah, if you had been smarter, more experienced, and had gone through this before, you would have done X, Y, and Z. But because this was your first child, you can only learn through experience.
It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah. So by the time you get a third child, you kind of have forgiven yourself and said, we all do the best we can do. So maybe you don't have to have a third child for that. We just told you. So there you go.
There you go.
You may need that third child to believe it, but we tell you that's a perfectly natural. Every parent feels guilty about things they did with their first child because they didn't know any better. And you know what? Every single parent throughout history has felt guilty for being things that they did with their first child. And there'll be things you feel guilty about with your second child, and even your third, and your fourth, and your fifth. You will, because that's how humanity works. You should have been better. And yes, of course you should have been better. But you did the best you could. That's the important part. That's the part that your kids remember, especially once they have their own. Oh, I'm starting my own family. Dad made a lot more sense now. I've heard that a few times now. It makes more sense now. Yeah. I appreciate that. That's all I'm going to say. Appreciate that. Okay, what's next?
How to transition gracefully into your child being able to use the internet.
So their child is, 10? Somewhere in that neighborhood, I would assume?
Right.
And they have, up until this point, been banned from using the internet without strict supervision, I'm assuming. But parents could turn on Amazon or YouTube Kids or something for them, but that's kind of all they got. And now what they're trying to do is, okay, how do I let them play in the wider internet? How do I let them start to learn? You do it slowly. You start giving them freedom in things like YouTube Kids, games like that are more kid-friendly. Give them access to those kind of things. You step them into it. And at some point, you are just going to have to go hands off because they're going to have it hands off anyway, whether you like it or not. So teach them as they stage in how to be careful and safe on the internet. Explain to them how people can, about spoofing emails as soon as they can. We all know how, as adults, we get it. Someone sends you an email and says, "Oh, I'm spying on you. Send us $200 or $1,000 or whatever in Bitcoin." Or well, the problem is teenagers get that and they think it's real.
Ooh.
That's the dangers. We've had a lot of teenagers who've gotten those kind of things, fallen for it, and then end up committing suicide. So the danger isn't really what's out there. The danger is them not being knowledgeable about what's out there. So you've got to teach them. You got to teach them about these kind of scam emails. You got to teach them about these things. And don't try and go a little bit above their age level, right? If they're 10, you try to teach them like you would teach an 11 or 12-year-old. If they're 8, you try to teach them like you would teach a 10-year-old. That way they're ahead of the curve. That's my suggestion. But it's not the knowledge is power. The internet is full of knowledge, but the power they need is what's not real. You need to know that if someone sends an email asking for money or demand or saying things, is that it's most likely a scam, but it's okay to come to us because they think it's real when it's not. Someone really did hack their webcam and watch them and enjoying themselves on the internet. And they really think that if they release it to the world, it's going to be the end of their lives. No, if that person releases it to the world, it's the end of their life because, right? Yeah, but children don't understand this. So those are the kind of things you need to teach. So slowly and carefully. Okay, what's next?
My 19-year-old son just moved out, bought a new thing and a new car. I am very angry. I want to take his car, house, and phone away permanently. How else should I punish him?
Oh, so you're mad at your 19-year-old son because he's successful? He gave you the double-barreled bird as he walked out the door and went off and did something with his life, and so your reaction to that is, how do I cut him off at the knees? No wonder he left and made a success of himself at 19. That's a cruel way to to motivate a child to become successful. But hey, motivated a child to become successful. My guess is you've also destroyed any long-term relationship with your child. With that attitude, punish your child because he went off and moved out. And what, you wanted him to stay home and take care of you, not have his own stuff, be dependent on you emotionally forever? Yeah. No. Congratulations to your son.
You broke through 3 of those bonds,
You
and
broke-
that was a rough one.
Yeah, if there's any punishment that needs to happen, it's with this person who's angry that their son has moved out and made a life for themselves.
Yeah. I wonder if they have
Oh, clearly they have some emotional issues to deal with.
mental, emotional.
Clearly they have
issues.
emotional issues.
Yeah.
Abandonment, most likely, fear of
Yeah.
abandonment, and what they're feeling is they're feeling abandoned by their son. Maybe they don't have anybody else, and so they have held their child too tight, trying. And of course, what happens with a young man when you hold him too tight?
They go off, and that's how they become sailors. And
You're lucky he became. Let's hope he made this money legally, right? Because anything, a young man, that will motivate a young man to do anything to get out of it. Let's hope he's a good salesman or something of that nature. He's a talented coder or graphic designer or something, making his money legally. But he still made a success of himself. So, all right, we're on to some work questions.
Can a CEO be late to the office almost every day?
Well, the CEO gets to set his own work hours, generally speaking. So the answer is no.
And he's probably there when you're gone, long after you've been gone. So you just never know.
And you never know what they're, CEOs, depending upon the nature of the company, they often have after hours events and stuff they have to fill to, especially if they're like a CEO of a nonprofit or something that kind of operates in that sphere.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go off and do networking events and fundraising, and they have to go looking for grants, and so they have to go to dinners and all these various kind of, everybody's holiday Christmas party they've got to freaking go to, and whether they want to or not. So stop worrying about other person's schedule. Keep your head down. Do your work. Worry about the schedule the CEO is dealing with. It's my suggestion.
There you go.
Now maybe the CEO is a crappy leader, and that's the real issue. The real issue isn't his schedule; is that he's not a good leader. So people are wondering why he's not here, because they don't know the value he's bringing. That's his responsibility. But the schedule itself, don't understand the schedule. You don't understand it. He may have to come in what you consider late because he has to be at work at a certain hour because somebody he's dealing with on some vastly different time zone in Germany or something. They've got to have an end of the day phone call, which is the beginning of the day phone call for them. And so he's got to be available for that. So you don't know what the schedule is. So that's my suggestion. Okay.
I'm not here to make friends, just to work. Co-workers are not your friends. Sentiment, a common one, or is it just an American thing?
It's quite common. Other places have it more forced, like where you're kind of forced networking, like in Japan. But your coworkers are just the people you work with. They're not your friends. They may evolve into your friends. Some one or two may evolve into your friends, but being friendly and being friends are not the same thing. Your coworker will stab you in the back to climb over you, especially in a corporate environment, because that's what everybody's doing in the corporate environment. Everybody wants the next promotion. It's the nature of the beast. It's a little different in smaller workplaces, mom and pop shops, those kind of things. Medium-sized company where your opportunity for advancement is lower because there's just not as much place to go. Not because you don't want you to advance. It's just because there's not as many places and people don't move. And so it's harder to advance. But in the corporate world, yeah. So it really kind of depends. Again, you're in a mom or pop stop, you are closer relationship wise to somebody, but you're in a big corporate environment. You are just coworkers. You're not your friends. You may go party with them on occasion. You may even on occasion go to your wedding. But if you leave the next day, one of them's getting hired for your position.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just is. So, business is business, as they shall say. All right, what's next?
Tired of working. Am I the only one?
No, what's next?
How to manage 50 hours a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. He's 19 years old. It's his first job out of college, and it's big money. So he really wants to succeed. But he's like, how do I do this? 50 hours a week?
Well, 50 hours a week, that's a lot of hours. What's he doing?
I forget.
But he was working at a university.
He just came from a university.
Well, because
He entered the corporate world.
Okay, so he's probably working for some kind of banking, investment bankers or something. Those are really the only people who work that long. Or if you're a blue collar worker and you're working on a factory that's got lots of orders, you end up working 50 hours a week. Working 50 hours a week isn't actually as hard as you think it is. It's 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. That's 50 hours a week. People do it all the time. You're 19. Just do it. Yeah, you go home, you eat, you get some rest, you watch an hour of TV, and you go to bed, you get up, and you do it again. Yeah. But you're 19. You use that, you build up your skills, you build up, since it's paying well, you build up some savings, and you make yourself more useful. And at 25, you can go off and start your own thing. You can be important enough where you get to be like that CEO who gets to come in and leave when he feels like it because he sets his own schedule. No one gets to do that at 19. No one gets to set their own schedule at 19. Well, not nobody, but for practical purposes, no one gets to set their own schedule at 19. There's the outliers, right? There's always outliers, but for the practical of it, no one gets to set their own schedules at 19. At 19, I was working 3 different jobs, 50 hours a week. All right, I may have been 20, but 21, but same time frame. You just manage it. There's no secret. You just accept that that's what you're going to do, and you do it. Can't give you a list of, oh, well, you get up in the morning, you do your stretches. No, whatever you do to get through the day is whatever you do to get through the day. But my biggest suggestion is don't feel like you're a victim. You are having an opportunity to learn, to earn skills so that in the future, you don't have to work this kind of schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boss saw me looking at other jobs while at work. Am I screwed?
Probably not. They know people are looking for other jobs. They know their job sucks. They know where they sit in the food chain of employment food chain. So, no. And if they did, then you don't want to work there anyway. So
There you go.
most bosses actually prefer that their employees have a drive and a vision and want to improve. And if part of that means they're looking somewhere else, then it means you're looking somewhere else. But it means you're looking for more. And that's actually a good sign rather than someone who's just willing to come in, punch a clock, do the bare minimum, and then go home. Which one would you rather have? Someone who's out searching and actively looking to make themselves better and improve themselves, or the person who's going to punch the clock? Yeah, they'll show up, but you're not going to get anything but the basic stuff. I'll cycle through a bunch of people who have drive and determination and vision. I'll cycle through every year and a half, 2 years, 6 months, whatever it is, over having the person that's just going to punch a clock and do the bare minimum. I want that person gone. I'd rather be part of someone's journey than part of someone's stagnation. Okay, what's next?
How to tell boss I want to go part-time.
Hey, boss, I want to go part-time. Assuming that that's something that's available, maybe you're working fast food, and so going part-time is relatively easy. Yeah, you just tell them. There's no secret to it. There's no, I mean, you could use the sandwich method, I suppose. Tell them something nice, then you tell them you don't want to, you want to go part-time, then you tell them something nice again. And sandwich it in between two compliments. You could try that. But I'm always the blunt is best. Say what it is. I'm too stressed. My home life needs me more. Whatever the truth is, just be honest.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, then you want to work somewhere else anyway. Now, they may ask something like, can you give me some time so I can make adjustments to the schedule, hire somebody else, whatever it is. And maybe you're not in a place that has the ability to send you part-time. Sorry, this role is full-time. I need one person here, not two. It's too complicated of a task to have two people share it. So that's always a possibility, but you know that. You know how they view this. And also remember that you go part-time, you might lose whatever benefits you get. Part-timers don't get health benefits, retirement benefits. Now, I guess as they don't care, you have a spouse or somebody who has making enough money that it's not relevant, but those are things to consider. Okay.
How do you know if you're working enough hours? Doesn't seem to there's always, it never gets finished,
What never gets finished?
He never feels like he's finished.
Yeah, because work is never done. Yeah, if you need more hours, you can ask for more hours, but if it's a pay thing, right? I want more hours because I want more hours, unlike this person who just wanted to go part-time. I want to go full-time, right? That's a discussion to have. And the solution to that is make yourself useful. The more useful you are, the more reliable you are, the more dependable you are, the more willingness you are to do the crap work, the better chance of you have going to full-time. Because, again, you're all those things. But if it's like, I don't feel like I'm finishing my job and then the hours allotted, but everybody's happy with it, then it's because you're never finished with your job. You've got one of those jobs that's never done. Look, and my job is never ending. I'm never finished. Even when I'm finished, I've got a laundry list of stuff I can pull from to do. Even if I've accomplished all my goals for the week and I have a whole another day left to do, I've got a laundry list of stuff that can be done. There's a laundry list of stuff that needs to get done that I generally don't have time for. But that's just the nature of work. Mm-hmm. And just like last week, I had to do stuff that was an emergency. So a lot of stuff I normally would get done didn't get done. But there's no magically more time in the day. There's no money in the budget for me to work overtime, and there's not that I would want to anyway. Nah, it'll be there tomorrow. It's fine. It's okay. So now if you need more hours, then you need more hours. That's a different discussion. Maybe finding a second job. Okay.
Okay. Is it legal to make me go to the doctor? She had the flu.
Uh-huh.
And it's now her
Employer wants to know.
Obviously, yeah, wants to know. If you're off work, they want a doctor's note.
Okay, this is not the 1980s or the 70s or the 60s. Most doctors have these things called, you just send them an email. tell them your symptoms, and they'll send you the note. Or if you got like on us here at Kaiser, you can do a televisit. Hi, I'm sick. I need a note from my doctor, and they'll send your doctor a note. You don't have to physically go.
Yeah.
So, is it annoying? Yes, it is. Is it some bunch of corporate BS? Yes, it is. It usually exists because someone took advantage of looseness, and rather than getting rid of that person, they created processes.
Oh, how lovely.
Well, because in a corporate world, it's easier that way, and especially we don't want to deal with lawsuits about wrongful termination and all. It's just easier to make a policy. It makes for crap work environment, but I can understand why they do it. It's understandable, but I'm a worker's perspective. It's horrible. I've been sick. I was sick, but now I've got to give you a note so your HR person is happy. As a thing to file. No one's going to actually look at it. No one's going to actually care. It's just going to go into a file. Because they have to. Yeah. Okay.
Why do good employees quit in almost every job?
Because they have to fill out doctor's notes when they're sick. Because the work environment isn't conducive for them.
Romance comes and goes, but sarcasm that lasts forever, man.
Just those are well placed. That was a well placed question. You set me up for that one. But yeah, they quit because the environment is bad. People will take less money for a positive work environment. This is a proven fact time and time again. Study after study after study has shown this. People will take less money for a positive work environment, for someplace they like to go.
Yep.
Because there's a certain value there. Don't know exactly what it is. It's different for everybody. But going someplace you want to be every day is vastly different than going someplace you dread being every day. And as I always used to say, the size of my paycheck is in direct proportion to the size of the amount of BS I'm willing to put up with. You want me to put up with a lot of BS, and you're going to have to give me a lot of greenbacks. You can pay me a little bit. That's great. But that means I get flexible working schedules. I get left alone, all the various things. I'll take crappy pay. I don't mind crappy pay. But you're going to have to pay me on everything else. And so it's the same thing. Why do good employees quit? Is because they're bosses and the work environment is terrible. And the thing is, your good employees have options. A good employee is a good employee. He's going to be good for you. He's going to be good for somebody else. He's valuable. They are valuable, so they have options. They don't need you. And they move on. Now, if you are, again, we've discussed this earlier, if your business is at the low end of the employment schedule, you get people who are beginning their career journey and they move on. That's part of your business plan. Yeah, I'm not going to have a 20-year vet here in this business because I can't afford to pay them that much. My customers can't afford that much. It's not my business plan. My business plan is to have a high turnover rate of high quality people who then take the lessons they learned here and go off and be more successful. That's a legitimate place to be in the temp agencies do that. Temp agencies do that a lot. It's the high quality people are the ones who get the permanent jobs. Low quality people, yeah, they can still work, but they cycle through the jobs that come and go. The high quality people, they've proven their high quality. They get either a job at the temp place or they're able to use those temp jobs, the people they've worked for, those temp jobs as references to get a better job somewhere else. And so that's the benefit of those kind of things. So good employees quit because environments suck. Okay, what's next?
My boss accepted my 2 weeks notice effective immediately. I asked if I was fired. She said no, that she did not have to honor my remaining days at work. Did she fire me or did I quit?
Quit.
You quit.
Yeah, the 2 week is a courtesy. There's no requirement for a 2 week notice. It is a courtesy. They do not have to honor the courtesy. Many places don't want to honor the courtesy. Now, if you are a good long-term employee, some places will actually pay you for it. I've had that happen where they paid me to not be there for my final week.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah. But you have to have a good relationship with that employer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, you quit. And you quit for a reason. So just remember that and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay.
My son's school searched his locker and found his Nintendo Switch. Now they're holding it to the end of the year. Is this legal?
No, we are not lawyers, and this will likely depend on the state. But generally speaking, no. They can search the locker. They are allowed to search lockers. They generally have to have cause, but they are allowed to search lockers. And they are allowed to confiscate, devices if there's a policy against them. So if they say you can't have game things, even though it's in the locker, but they cannot keep it.
Sorry, they can't keep it.
They can't keep it. And so what you can do is you can have a lawyer send them essentially a cease and desist order. And they will give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you could write a cease and desist order yourself, just go on the online and have AI write you a cease and desist order letter for it and send it to them. Would be my suggestion. Because the legal thing will scare them. If you just go in, they're gonna try and turn it into a big argument. And it's gonna become, deal with it as civilly as possible. If you've got a lawyer friend, someone who will write you a letter for nothing, send a letter or write one yourself. Send them essentially a cease and desist.
There you go.
And then tell your son to quit bringing his stupid Switch to school. But that's actually got nothing to do with the Switch itself. And this is why I would suggest get your kids out of public schools. Got no real privacy in your public schools. They're tyrants. Schools have become tyrants. They're always tyrants, but they become more and more tyrant. Anyway, what's next? We got some intimacy questions.
We got some intimacy. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay. I've been faking an orgasm accidentally. So she was with her boyfriend, and he's her first. And when they're together and he reaches a peak, she gets excited too. She thinks she peaks too. Because it's intense. And her boyfriend asked her what it felt like, and she told him, and he said, no, it's not supposed to feel like that. It's supposed to feel like a crescendo.
People are going to explain how that feels vastly differently. And how in the hell is he supposed to know?
I know, right?
You can't fake an orgasm accidentally. Now, you can be highly sensitive to something that's not quite an orgasm and feel it that way because you're not experienced enough to know what it is or isn't.
You guys great times coming when you turn like 35, let me tell you.
But my guess is no, you had an orgasm, you just didn't notice that it was because you don't know what those things are.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't fake one accidentally.
I mean, there are levels.
Yeah. Some are better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no different for a guy. Some are better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with women, I mean, we have different buttons. And different buttons
do different things.
You get different experiences out of them.
So
yeah.
But my point is, you can't accidentally fake one.
No.
You
can't accidentally.
No, it's like accidentally on purpose faked an orgasm. I mean, what the hell? I don't know. Don't overthink those things. Just experience them. Would be my suggestion. Okay, well, what do we have next?
Okay, my new girlfriend is very sexual, and I don't know how to handle it. Now, he's pretty straight-laced, okay, and she's more the adventurous type.
Well, he's either going to have to put his big boy pants on and become adventurous, or he's going to have to go find someone who's more his style. Because you can't ask her to become more straight. It's not going to work. It's just not. Asking someone who's highly adventurous and already understands that to tone it down to
A dull vanilla.
yeah, shall we say, it's not going to work long term. So he's either going to have to put his adventure pants on and go off and accept he's going to have, or you're going to have to go find someone who's more your style.
Yeah.
That's just.
And they were both pretty young, too.
Yeah. So, they may not be, it could be one of those things that you're just not a match. Or it could just be that maybe you'll have more fun than you think you will. All right. What's next?
How often have you been able to orgasm through intercourse? Okay, now this
Well,
doesn't...
pretty much every time.
Yeah, this doesn't say...
I mean, there's a time or two where things happen. You're tired, been drinking too much or something stupid like that. But pretty much every time. I don't know.
But seriously, taking this serious,
Oh.
it depends if you're talking to a man or a woman if you're asking this question, because they what were those sexperts? I forget who did that. The Joy of Sex,
Yeah, the Joy of Sex books. Yeah.
They got together and they did a research on this one female volunteer, and after a couple hours everybody gave up and they went home because she was still going. So the women can go ad infinitum.
Yeah. So how often? Yeah, sometimes you can count. Women can count the number of times you had during one time. So it just depends. There's a wide range of normal, especially for women. Men,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a wide range of normal for women. So if that's the question, I'm going to assume they were talking about women. They're asking a woman a question, not men.
Okay.
Just because that's a stupid question to ask men. Unless there's drugs or something involved, it's a stupid question to ask me because the answer is going to be almost every time. So for women, it's the quality of your partner, the mental space you're in. There's all kinds of things that come into play. So it's how often. I wonder if this person hasn't experienced very many, and so she's wondering if she is abnormal.
Oh.
Or if she experienced them often and she's wondering if she's abnormal.
Oh, for women, now intercourse, sometimes, well, a lot of times, that is not enough.
Yeah, it depends on the anatomy of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the shape of your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can have a pleasure curve that works one way, but if the pleasure curve's the other way, it's painful. So these things are individual in nature.
And nature's cruel. Y'all are like done in a short amount of time. And, we take forever, if ever,
Nature's a cruel mistress, man. And we get done. We're tired. We just want to roll over and go to bed. We're exhausted.
And we're like, you must cuddle now. Now I'm needy.
Yeah, I'm needy to take a nap. So anyway, what's next?
Is there anything men particularly enjoy during sex?
No. Each man is different.
Huh.
What they enjoy is your attention. So the specific, you just have to ask the specific. But generally speaking, they just like your attention.
That's pretty easy.
Yes. And are simple creatures, I'm telling you. Okay, what's next?
I am my girl and my girlfriend. Okay, I am 30 and my girlfriend has never masturbated or orgasmed in her life, not even on her own. Hasn't even tried. How can I help her?
Sure she needs help? Is she okay with this?
Yeah.
Well, then she doesn't need help. She only need to help if she views it as a problem. If she doesn't view it as a problem, it's not a problem. You can find it sad, you can find it tragic, we can find whatever the feelings are, and that's still nice. But if she's okay with it, then she's okay with it.
It's her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's perfectly happy with it, then she's perfectly happy with it. And she's 30, so at this stage.
If she hasn't had the desire, the questioning in her mind, then it's just not there, babe.
My guess is she's had all the question, and she's made a choice that it's not for her.
And she just didn't want to. She didn't want to enough.
And now she's 30, and still has no need.
Yeah.
So
she didn't feel the urging, I guess.
Now, I suppose you could try to be better at your lovemaking and have her or give her an orgasm, but it may not. Some of you women are not easy to get over the edge. So, but as long as she's okay with it, there's nothing to fix. And you may find it surprising, but it's probably more common than you would think. So, okay.
Okay, this is from a woman. Why am I suddenly so much more intensely aroused during sex?
I'm kind of confused by the question.
Hormones, darling.
Yeah, that's the whole point of that. I'm a little confused. I started to get amorous, and I feel amorous. Well, yeah. That's how that works. That's called working. I don't know. There's not a problem there. That's my answer to that question. There's no problem on that one.
That was our last question, folks.
That was the second easiest question to answer all day. So, yeah. All right, we're out of here. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Lubby, for being here, for putting the show together tonight. Have a good night. Have a good week. Have a good year. And with that, please remember to love everybody.
Good night.